Most cultures that believe in reincarnation agree on a very specific, linear set of biological rules. A person lives, they die, their consciousness leaves the body, and eventually it is reborn into a brand new infant. In 1985, a 16-year-old girl named Sumitra Singh broke that rule. Sumitra lived an isolated life in a small rural village in Uttar Pradesh, India. In July of that year, her physical health rapidly collapsed. She began suffering from seizures, her body contorted, and she even began predicting her own death. Within weeks, a severe fever set in, and her breathing finally stopped. Her family accepted she was gone, but as they prepared her body for the traditional funeral pyre, her chest suddenly rose. Her breath had returned. The teenager who opened her eyes rejected her husband and her family. Instead, she claimed her name was Shiva and began begging to see her 2 children. Curious, leaning in. When news of this incident spread, investigators and the media rushed to the village. But as they attempted to map the sequence of events, they encountered a direct contradiction. They tracked down the identity of Shiva Tripathi, the woman Sumitra claimed to be. The real Shiva had died in May of 1985. Sumitra was born in 1968. This means that for 16 years, both of these women were alive at the exact same time. Reincarnation requires a soul to move from a deceased person into a new life. It does not allow for a 16-year overlap. Researchers now had to determine if the grieving family was orchestrating a fraud or if they had discovered an entirely unmapped phenomenon. To find out, investigators looked closely at the life of the real Shiva Tripathi. She was an educated young mother of 2 boys, living in the town of Divyapur. Behind closed doors, her life was difficult. She endured physical abuse and constant harassment over dowry payments from her in-laws, tolerating it to stay close to her children. That tolerance ended on May 18, 1985. Shiva's body was discovered lying across a set of local railway tracks. Her in-laws told authorities she had taken her own life. There was forensic evidence pointing elsewhere. Shiva had sustained a blunt force wound to her head before she ever reached the tracks. Despite this, the local police swiftly closed the investigation. Her unsolved death occurred exactly 2 months before a 16-year-old girl named Sumitra fell ill and stopped breathing, roughly 100 miles away. Up until her illness, Sumitra had been illiterate. After her recovery, the first thing she did was ask for a pen. She began writing letters, addressing them to Shiva's former family home. Those letters prompted Shiva Tripathi, the real Shiva's father, to travel to Sumitra's village. He arrived unannounced, carrying a family photo album to test these claims. The moment Sumitra saw him, she called him her father. As he flipped through the album, this village teenager accurately named every extended family member in the photographs. Then she suddenly stopped at one picture. She pointed directly at a portrait of Shiva's sister-in-law, stating this was the woman who murdered her by crushing her head with a brick. Sumitra provided specific, unpublicized details about an active cover-up. Identifying a specific murder suspect moved the story from the realm of folklore into a documented investigative record. In February 1986, Dr. Ian Stevenson, a researcher of reincarnation cases, launched a formal investigation into the 2 families. Stevenson's team verified 19 specific, non-public facts that Sumitra knew about Shiva's life. They ruled out prior contact, any coordinated fraud, and underlying mental illness. To explain the 16-year timeline glitch, researchers applied a theoretical framework known as Parakaya Pravesh, or replacement reincarnation. Many jumped to the idea of demonic possession. In possession, an invading force controls the body, while the host's consciousness remains trapped inside. Replacement works differently. At clinical death, Sumitra's consciousness permanently vacated. This left an empty vessel, which Shiva's displaced consciousness then entered and rebooted. The 16-year-old girl named Sumitra never actually came back to life. She passed away, and her healthy body became a lifeboat for a mother who had just been violently killed 100 miles away. This psychological state never faded, from the moment she woke up in 1985 until her actual physical death in 1988. The woman lived as Shiva Tripathi. Because the initial data was collected thoroughly, the case has remained a subject of academic study for decades. In 2009, researcher Antonia Mills conducted a follow-up study. reviewing the original statements and interviews, and she re-verified the 1986 findings. The internal consistency of the 1986 and 2009 investigations has led academic anomaly researchers to view the Sumitra-Shiva overlap as a benchmark for replacement reincarnation. Despite this verified anomalous evidence, the legal system refused to move. The police never reopened the investigation into Shiva's murder. Shiva managed to successfully anchor her consciousness back into the physical world. Yet she spent the rest of her second life separated from the children she had died trying to protect. Events like this suggest that human consciousness might be a distinct form of energy, governed by physical rules of transference that science is only just beginning to map.